Hello again, this is Mark Summers from Summers Technical Services. We're going to continue on with our GD&T assignment with our 2 plates team assignment. So I was going to do a quick video and talk about how to make the tips on making the part models. So I want to say File New. Depending on what team you're on, some of you are doing metric, some of you are doing US customer units. I'll pretend like I'm on the team doing millimeters, so I'm going to choose a millimeter template. And so I'm ready to go. So I want to go select this top plane. I want to sketch on the top plane so the part's oriented correctly. And I'm going to go do a center point rectangle and approve that. And I want these to be a square, so I want to make those 2 equal. So I select one, control click the second one. Now they're equal. Now I don't quite know what I'm going to, what size I need yet. And so I'll worry about constraining that later, but I want to make sure I don't forget later. So we'll call it good with that, and I'll get it out of the sketch. And I'll do a space bar and do an isometric view. And I think now I'll extrude it to make my plate. And I'm not sure what thickness is going to be, but I'll pick a thickness and say okay. So like I said, eventually we're going to go back and fix that sketch so it's got the right dimension on there that we want. And eventually I'll assign a material. Alright, so I want to make a sketch to kind of locate all my features. I got a bunch of holes, and I want to create a sketch that's going to control the location of all those holes. And so I want to make a new sketch. I want to sketch on this face right here, and I want to make me a diameter bolt circle. And that looks okay. And I'm going to make some lines here to help me locate the different types of holes at the different locations. And so I'll have a vertical line at 12 o'clock, I'll have a horizontal line at 3 o'clock, and then I'll have a couple of 45-degree lines that I'll use to make my locate my holes that need to be halfway between those other 2. So I'm selecting, put them at the origin, make sure I tie them to the circle, and so when I move this, they're all moving together, so that looks good. All of this needs to be construction geometry, because I'm not going to extrude any cuts or anything. I just want to use it to control other features. So I select one, control click the rest of them, make them all for construction. And again, I don't know what bolt circle size I want, so I'm going to leave that loose for now, but I got to constrain these. I do want to put angles on here. So here to here, this will be a 45-degree angle. And I could do another 45-degree angle down here, but I think I'll do some geometric constraints. So I'll select that line, control click, whoops, got the face instead. Select that line, control click that line, make those perpendicular. So now those lines are fixed. One thing I need to do later is put a dimension on this sketch. So I'll leave it loose for now. Also need to I want to make a square on here so I can locate those corner pins and the clearance holes for that hex bolt that goes through there. So I want to do one more. I want to look down from the top again, space bar, top view. Do another center point rectangle and select the origin and place it something like this. And again, this needs to be equal to this. Make them equal, also make them for construction. So that looks good. And so what I've got is a design rule I like to use, which is, we talked about a couple, 3 weeks ago, that the edge distance for the holes, you need to keep it no closer than 1.5 times the major diameter. So I want to go ahead and make a global variable to drive those dimensions. And so I want to go Tools, Equations, and I want to call it Edge. And I'm going to look at my hex bolt size, and for mine I'm doing, it's a, what is it? It's a 12 millimeter screw. So I want to say equals to 12, whoops, got too many equal signs, equal to 12 times 1.5 because my measured diameter is 12, and I want to make sure the edge distance is at least 1.5 times that. So now that I've got that variable defined, I can go smart dimension, and I can go from here to the edge of the part, and I'm going to type in equals. That'll get this pop up. I'll arrow down to go global variables, and I'll arrow over to the right and select that global variable. So now that dimension, you can see it's 18 now, but it's got that sigma on there. That tells me that it's being driven by that global variable. So I'm going to do that in this other direction here. Again, say equals. Well, that one doesn't need to be on there because it's already defined because these things are equal. So I believe now that took care of the, everything is black. The only thing that is not defined is the diameter there. So I'll tie that down later. So I'm going to exit there. So now I've got me a sketch that'll help me control all the different holes I'm going to put on there here in a little bit. All right, so now let's go ahead and I'm going to say I'm working on the bottom plate. And so on the top plate we had counter bores here and here, 12 and 6. We had countersinks here and here at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then the threaded holes were on these 45-degree angles. On the bottom plate, that whole pattern needs to rotate 45 degrees so that the holes on the top don't crash into the holes for the screws going up the bottom. So I'm going to start off doing the counter bore hole, and so I'm going to go to features, hole wizard. I always use the hole wizard to make my holes, and my socket head cap screws and my socket countersink head cap screws are both M10 by 1.5. So I'm going to go to hole wizard. I want to have a counter bore hole for a metric socket head cap screw. Make sure you choose the right option. Size on mine is, what did I say, M10. And we want it through all. So now I'm done with that. So I'm going to click on positions. Don't click these buttons over here. Just click on the face you want the holes to be. And instead of being at 12 o'clock, I want to rotate it 45 degrees over this way and grab that point right there. And say OK. So now I've got my counter bore hole for my socket head cap screw. And I'll do a pattern here in a minute to get that wrapped around. Now I'm going to do the countersink hole. So I'm going to go back to hole wizard. I'm going to change it to a countersink option right there. I still want metric, and I want a socket countersunk head cap screw. And it's still a number 10. And I don't know that I forgot to choose the fit last time. I need to check that first one, make sure I got the right one. On mine, it happens to be loose fit. And so that's correct. Through all, positions, select that face. Now I want to choose that point right down here, which is 45 degrees away from where it is on the top view. Top plate, excuse me. So now I got that one. Now I'm going to do my tapped holes. And so the tapped holes are going to rotate 45 degrees over here, and it'll wrap around. So I'm going to put a tapped hole up here and then do a circular pattern for 4 of them to get them all the way around. So I'm going to go back to my hole wizard. And what did I say? This is going to be an M10 by 1.5 threaded hole. So I'm going to choose threaded hole, ANSI metric. I don't want bottoming tap. I want just a plain tapped hole. And the screw size is M10 by 1.5. And we need to make sure we do through all, but we also need to make sure this middle button is pushed in. With thread callouts, yes. Thread class, yes. Don't click this near side countersink. This will be giving us our notes we need on our drawing eventually. So that defines the hole. I go to positions. Again, I select on the face I want to place it, and I want to click right there. And I'm just double checking to make sure all these sketches are fully defined, fully constrained, which they are. So now I'm going to come in here and do the, I need to make me an axis so that I can do a circular pattern. So I need an axis right in the middle, which is going to be an intersection between these two planes. So I want to go to Reference Geometry, Axis, and I want to open up my tree here, and I want to say I want a plane to go intersection of the front plane. That puts it in the blue box, and control click the right plane, and that gives me a little preview down here. If you can see that little yellow preview, that's going to give me an axis right through the middle of the part. So now I'm ready to do my circular pattern. These two guys are going to rotate 180 degrees. So I'm going to select the first one, control click the second one. I want to do this circular pattern together. So I've got them selected. I'm going to go to linear pattern, use the pull down, go circular pattern. The blue box is active. It's asking me for the direction. I want to choose that axis, and I want to choose 180 degrees, and I want 2 of them on each. And that'll give me what I want. So there's that. Now I need to do a circular pattern. Whoops, I got my threaded hole is not showing as a threaded hole. So I need to turn on my visibility. Use the pull down, turn on that annotation button right there. Use the pull down on the eyeball there. Now I've got my threaded hole. All right, it was just a display issue before I made that change. All right, so now I've got this guy. I want to do a circular pattern on him, except I want 4 of them. So I'm going to use the pull down here, linear pattern, choose circular pattern. I'm going to choose that same axis to rotate about, and this time it's going to be 90 degrees, and I want 4 of them. And that gets me all the way around the horn there. So that looks good. Now I'm going to add in my 2 hex bolt clearance screw holes. So I'm going to go back to the hole wizard, and I'm looking at my spreadsheet, and my hex head bolt is a M12 by 1.75. So I'm going to go to a plain hole, ANSI metric. I want a screw clearance hole. This is going to be a clearance hole for that, in my case, M12 by 1.75. So I want a clearance hole, and I want to make sure my spreadsheet, check it, and it says loose fit. So I'm on loose fit there, through all. So that looks good. Now I want to go to positions. Again, select the face, and I want one up here, and I want one down here. And what in the world happened? Oh my gosh, it didn't give me the right size. I want to edit this. I got them in the right spot, but I chose the wrong one. Right click, edit feature. I want an M12. Oh my gosh, that was wrong. M12. That looks better. Through all, screw clearance M12, I'm good. And it's loose, which is what I'm assigned. All right, now we can do the other side. We need dowel pins over here and here. These are going to have different tolerances, so I can't do them both at the same time. They're both nominally, in my case, they're both nominally 12 millimeters, but I need 2 separate features so I can individually change the tolerances when we start doing the drawings next week. So I'm going to go back to the hole wizard. I want a plain hole, metric. I want to choose dowel holes because these are for those dowel pins. And the size of mine happens to be 12 millimeters. And through all, no, don't turn on these countersinks, near side or far side. Positions, select the face. I'll put one up here. Say OK. Do it one more time. Hole wizard. Just want the same values as before. Go to positions. Click on that face. And boom, right there. OK. So now I'm done. Should have saved this thing. I haven't saved it yet. So make sure to save yours on a regular basis. I think that's about it. I still need to go back in and edit the sketch to locate that real diameter of the real size of the plate. This looks pretty good. The design looks okay. The holes aren't too close, I don't think. So I would just go in and fix this sketch, add a dimension for the location of the size of the plate, make it a nice round number. And the sketch here, I want to go in and add that dimension for the bolt hole circle and get it a nice round number. And then my part's done, and I'm ready to move on to do the drawing. And I guess one more thing, before I do my drawing, now that I've made my part, I like to hide this sketch so it doesn't get in the way later when I start doing my assembly model. So I'm going to right click. Oh, I see a problem here. I didn't make this a construction geometry here or here. I need to fix that. So I'm going to right click, edit sketch. Yep, I missed that, didn't I? Right there. And control click that one, make that construction. There we go. I think I got all of them now. That's fully defined. No, it's underdefined. Oh yeah, it's underdefined because of this guy. So I'll put a real smart dimension on there later once I decide what size I want that to be. Exit that, spacebar, ISO view. All right, so now I've got my orientation correct. There's front view, top view, right view. So it looks good. So hopefully that was helpful, and we'll follow this up eventually with a video talking a little bit about doing the drawing. So until we talk to you next time, have a good day.